Hello, everybody. My name is David Rausch. I'm the creator of Go, and this is the Preschool Small Group Demo. Small group is the part of the lesson where kids sit in smaller size groups for activities and discussion. And as I've said in some of the other demos, if you have a smaller number of preschool kids in your ministry, the large group lesson and small group lesson might both take place with the same number of kids, and it might even be led by the same teacher. And that's okay. Go works for both big and small churches. Now, before we jump into a preschool small group lesson, I want to explain something else. With a lot of curriculum, the purpose of the small group is to review what was learned in large group. But Go is different. As you'll see in just a minute, Go does have an activity that helps kids review the Bible story. But most of the activities are designed to help kids take what they learned in large group and apply it to their lives through a combination of activities and discussion. So let's jump into a preschool lesson, and I can show you what I mean. The first page of the lesson is the title page. On the title page, you'll find things like the unit title. This unit is called Say Cheese. The lesson title. And down in this box, you'll see the big idea, which is the main point of the lesson, the Bible basis, and the memory verse for the day. Below that is the schedule for the lesson, which can be adjusted to fit your service length. On the next page is a leader devotional. The devotional is connected to the Bible story for the lesson, and the purpose of it is to help the leaders prepare their own hearts before showing up to serve. Scrolling down further, you'll see the small group skill building page. This is built-in training for your leaders. Every 4 to 5 weeks, there's a different topic that helps the small group leaders lead their group more effectively. And if we go down one more page, you'll see the first small group activity, which is the playtime activity. This activity is designed to take place before the large group, as soon as the kids arrive. For playtime, you might have a bunch of other toys or games set up for the kids to play with, but you would include this playtime activity as one of those options. This activity is a fun way to introduce the Bible story and big idea to the kids before they hear about it in the large group lesson. Now, just a quick note about what the terms large group and small group mean. Large group is the portion of the lesson where the kids are all together in one big group and they're hearing the Bible story together. Small group is the portion of the lesson where the kids break down into smaller, maybe more age-based groups for activities and discussion. But don't be confused by the terms, because if you come from a smaller church that has maybe 8 to 12 kids in the preschool room, you might only have one small group, and it'll have the same number of kids as the large group does. Okay, let's hop back into the lesson. All of the small group activities further down are activities that take place after the large group lesson. In addition to the playtime activity, there are 6 small group activities to choose from. If you're not going to use all 6 of the activities, that's okay. Go comes as a Word document, so you can just delete any activities you're not going to use before you give the lesson to the leaders in your room. The first 2 small group activities are always application activities. The purpose of these is to take what kids learned in large group and help them apply it to their lives. You'll see that we list out the supplies you'll need for the activity. You can also find a more detailed list of supplies for all of the activities on the supply list. Right here, you can see the supply list tells you not only what you need, but it tells you how many you need, and it gives you special instructions for some of the supplies. Okay, let's get back to the lesson again. Right here, you'll see this activity has a note on how to prepare. And then I want to point out this right here. In most of the activities, not only do we include directions for the leaders on what to do, we also give them an idea of what to say. This is helpful for all of the leaders, but it's especially helpful for new leaders who are less confident on how to verbally make the connection between the activity and the content of the lesson. Okay, before moving on from this activity, I want to point out one more thing. As you can see right here, there is a series of questions that you ask the kids during the course of this activity. Having a question is pretty normal for a Go activity. The game or activity is what keeps the kids engaged, but the question is what helps the kids apply the lesson to their life. Without the game or activity, the kids would get bored, but without the question or discussion, the kids wouldn't understand the point of the activity. Go activities have both parts because both parts are important. The next activity is another application activity. In most lessons, there's usually one application activity that is higher energy and one that is lower energy. Trash ball is a little bit higher energy. It gets the kids up and moving, whereas the activity above it, all aboard, is a little bit lower energy. The kids stay seated while floating a boat in a bin of water. The next one is the Bible memorization activity. This is where kids play a fun game that helps them learn and recite the Bible verse for the day. In this one, for example, the kids have to bop a balloon in the air, and every time they touch it, the whole group has to say one word from the Bible verse until the whole verse has been recited. Below that is the Bible story review activity. This one helps the kids remember and retell the Bible story they heard during the large group lesson. Next, you'll see the prayer response activity. This one uses what we call the Go Home Guide. That's the take-home sheet. The problem with most take-home sheets is that they're just filled with information. Unfortunately, though, parents are overwhelmed with information, especially if they have an elementary age kid. Parents get bombarded with papers or emails from teachers and principals and coaches and activity leaders. So when you hand them one more sheet of paper at church, what happens is it usually ends up in the trash without the parent ever looking at it. But if the paper has something on it that their kid wrote or drew, then they are much more likely to interact with it. So with that in mind, the Go Home Guide is used during the prayer activity. You can see right here that it has all of the core information from the lesson on it, as well as a question up here that the parents can ask their child in the car or at home. But most of the space is reserved for the kids to draw their prayers to God. Sometimes it's a prayer for something they need, but sometimes it's about thankfulness or confession, or it's a praise picture to God. So now the take-home sheet isn't just filled with information. Now it's a window into the heart and mind of their child, and it's something parents are more likely to engage with. And finally, the last activity is a coloring and snack time activity. On the opposite side of the Go Home Guide is a coloring sheet that the kids can color while the leader asks the kids questions that help them go deeper into the Bible story. And as you can see, that brings us to the end of the preschool small group demo. As usual, if you want a more customized demo, go to our website and click the button that says Request a Demo. During a live demo, we can find out more about you and your ministry and help you figure out how the small group lessons can help the preschoolers in your church grow in their faith. Until then, thank you for joining me. Take care and God bless.